The other day I posted a photo with my thoughts on ICE, and that photo has since gone everywhere. It's been shared all over the place, and I've gotten a ton of messages, and most of them honestly have been supportive and encouraging, people thanking me for speaking up and using my platform. But a lot of the messages have been awful. People telling me to kill myself, threatening me, wishing that they'll get to see me blow my knee or break my neck during my event, calling me slurs. Like, it's insane.
This is Gus Kenworthy, an Olympic skier with Team Great Britain. Why exactly is MAGA so peeved with all of this? Because he posted this photo on his personal Instagram page. It reads, F ICE. The IOC said he will not face any discipline.
I think it's important to say what we feel and stand up for what we believe in and stand up to injustice. And I've been really proud seeing other athletes doing that. Hunter Hess, Michaela Schifrin. I think it's inspiring and it's important. And I also think that there's a lot of nuance to it, and I feel like sometimes people forget that. So I just want to remind everyone that, like, you can love the US and be proud to be an American. I am, and still think it can be better and still think that the country can improve. And just because you love the US doesn't mean you stand with this administration and stand behind their policies and their legislation and support the things that they support, because I don't, and I do not support ICE, and I think it's absolutely evil and awful and terrifying.
Let's pause here. His caption on social media would read as follows. You can call your senator at 202-224-3121 to speak up against ICE and put pressure on them during the current DHS funding negotiations. Here's a sample script. Hi, my name is blank, and I'm a constituent from blank blank. I'm calling to urge Senator blank to refuse to support any final Department of Homeland Security funding agreement that fails to meaningfully rein in ICE and Border Patrol.
There have been U.S. citizens that have been murdered in the street, executed in the street, and the officers are essentially acting with like impunity because their identities are covered. There's no accountability. It's really scary. They're racially profiling people, rounding up black and brown folks, and kidnapping them, putting them in unmarked vehicles with no arrest warrant, no probable cause. They're being held without any sort of due process. It's crazy. It's scary. And people are being sent to countries that they're not even from.
It would continue. Innocent people have been murdered, and enough is enough. We can't wait around while ICE continues to operate with unchecked power in our communities. Senators still have leverage right now, and Senator Blank must use it to demand real guardrails and accountability, including getting ICE and CBP out of our communities, ending blank check funding for brutality, and establishing clear limits on warrantless arrests, profiling, and enforcement at sensitive locations like schools and hospitals. Please pass this message along to the senator. Thank you. F ICE with the middle finger representing the first word.
I think overwhelmingly the majority of the people being targeted are good people, hardworking people that are nonviolent and have no criminal history and just came to the U.S. seeking a better life. And that is literally the foundation story of the U.S. We are a country of immigrants, and that's the American dream. And I think people forget that sometimes.
Some of the reactions you may be asking? Well, here's one.
Let me take a moment to discuss the absolute absurdity of this photo that was posted recently by Olympian Gus Kenworthy. This is ridiculous, absurd, diabolical. Like, what the f***? We all knew you were talented. This is not your first Olympics, my guy. But I don't think any of us knew you were this talented. Who the f*** can pee with this kind of precision? I sit down to pee because I dribble too much. This is insane. Look at how crisp those letters are. Why is nobody talking about how perfect this is? Maybe you should hydrate a little better. Why the f*** am I telling an Olympian to hydrate? Pop off, King. Oh my gosh.
I'm not going to lie, that dude had me in the first half. On social media, when news surfaced that Vice President J.D. Vance and his wife Usha fans were booed at the opening ceremony. Kenworthy took to Instagram and wrote, "I was one of them." A bit more of his backstory from the BBC. The 34-year-old was born in Chelmsford but grew up in the U.S. He won silver at the ski slopestyle 2014 Sochi Games, of course, before switching allegiances to Team Great Britain in the year 2019. Furthermore, the BOA, or British Olympic Association, would tell the outlet, Team GB takes athlete welfare seriously and has support services in place for athletes, including specifically where there are threats and abuse via social media. All Team GB athletes are offered this on a protective basis. What is rather troubling is this not even trend, but a movement that we have seen over and over and over and over again, and it is this. From Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf to Colin Kaepernick to Tommy Smith and John Carlos to LeBron James to plenty of others. The fact remains that what we see is predominantly on the left, and I would never say everybody, but predominantly on the left, at least this is how I live, is when I hear an athlete or a politician or a musician or a comedian or anybody say something, it is time to research. It is time to fact check. And it is time to bring you, my loyal audience, the facts. I never, ever advocate for someone's First Amendment rights to be stripped and for them to shut up and dribble, or for them to be deported, or for them to be kicked off a team unless it is so heinous that it is racial slur on top of racial slur on top of racial slur. And even some of those might be protected under the First Amendment. But I think that's my red line. That's my red line. And obviously different actions would call for expulsion. But if it is just harmless speech like this, where you are calling out very powerful politicians and the policies that they put forth in order to make our country a living hell and inflict on human rights, no matter where it may be, that should be a green light for everybody. And we should all come together to applaud these people for using their platforms that they get, really, if you think about it, once every 4 years, if once ever. And they're doing this. But this rhetoric that I'm seeing from so many is just a reminder of what we saw previously when they were in a tizzy about athletes kneeling or athletes using their platforms of yesteryear. It is gross. This is not something that we should be advocating for. The backlash that Gus Kenworthy got was astronomical and also out of touch. The fact that he got death threats because he doesn't agree with a secret police force abducting, detaining, leaving people out in the Minnesota winter in the woods in the middle of the night, allegedly stealing their money, allegedly stealing their credit cards and using them, sending them to CCOT, sending them to foreign gulags, propping up the private industry complex. Yeah, I think it's a slam dunk. I do. I really do. Because not only will history validate what Gus Kenworthy is saying, and Amber Glenn is saying, and Hunter Hess is saying, and Michaela Schifrin is saying, and many others, as I'm sure they will, are saying, but it also won't look back very kindly on those who not only participated in these atrocities, but those who supported it as well. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.